Lesson 12, I will convert mixed number measurements to smaller units. So we're going to move away from adding and subtracting mixed measurements, and today we're going to be talking about how you can convert from a mixed number measurement to a smaller unit. We've been going from smaller to larger. Now we're going to go from larger to smaller. All right, so first of all, we're going to use a tape diagram to model how we can show 1 yard divided into 3 equal parts. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a tape diagram here. I'm going to make it fair size, and then I'm going to divide it into 3 equal parts. Okay, so because this tape diagram represents 1 yard, I'm going to go ahead and label this 1 yard. And then I'm going to use this to try to figure out what would 1/3 of a yard be in feet. If this was a yard and I divided it into 3 equal parts, what would each part be equal to in feet? Well, each of these parts will be equal to 1 foot. So if I had 1/3 of a yard, I would have 1 foot. If I have 2/3, I would have 2 feet. And if I have 3/3, I would have 3 feet. Okay? All right, let's keep going. All right, so now we're going to draw a tape diagram to show 2 and 2/3 yards is equal to 8 feet. All right, so let's go ahead and draw our tape diagram here. And I'm going to divide this into 2 yards and 2/3. So I'm going to make this 1 yard and then 1 yard like this. So we'll label this 1 yard. This will be 1 yard. And then we'll divide all of these yards into thirds. And then this last one will just be 2/3. Okay, so if there's 1 foot in a yard, then each of these will be labeled 1 foot. So there's 3 feet in 1 yard, 3 feet in the other yard, and then for the 2/3, I have 2 more feet. So altogether I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. So this tape diagram shows how 2 yards and 2/3 is equal to 8 feet. Okay, now we're going to show how a tape diagram can model how 3/4 of a gallon is equal to 3 quarts. All right, so let's go ahead and draw our tape diagram, and we will make this equal to 1 gallon. And if you will remember, there are 4 quarts in a gallon, so I'm going to go ahead and divide this into 4 parts. And each part will have a value of 1 quart. So if I had 3/4 of a gallon, that would be 3 quarts. All right, so let's try showing how 3 3/4 of a gallon could be equal to 15 quarts. So I'm going to make this one just a little bit longer so I don't have to write really small. Okay, so let's go ahead and divide this. If we could do it like we did the one number 2, or we could go ahead and just divide this into 4 quarts or 4 gallons. But I think I will just go ahead and divide this into gallons like this. So that'll be 1 gallon, 2 gallons, and then this will be 3 gallons, and then the last part will be 3/4. So I'm going to divide each of these into 4 parts like this. So this would be 1 gallon. And then I'm going to divide this gallon into 4 parts. And this would be equal to a gallon. And then I'll divide this gallon into 4 parts. And then my last one, I'm just going to divide into 3 parts, and this will be 3/4 of a gallon. So for every fourth of a gallon, it's equal to a quart. So each of these will be equal to 1 quart. So I'm going to put 1 quart inside every single one of these. I'm going to pause the video and finish this, and I want you to go ahead and do the same thing to yours. Okay, so if I had all of these, 1, 2, 3 gallons and 3/4, this will be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 quarts. So I'm going to go ahead and label this at the bottom 15 quarts. Try to not get it too close to that next one. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. So solve problems using whatever tool works best for you. So you can see here we have a tape diagram, and then we also have a number line. And you can see that these are labeled with inches, and the hole is 1 foot. So if I want to know what 1/12 of a foot is, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 parts. If I had one of them, that will be equal to how many inches? Well, that will be equal to 1 inch. So I've got blank 12ths of a foot is equal to half of a foot. So what would be half? Well, half is right here in the middle, right? So that would be 6/12, which is equal to 6 inches. All right, so what about 1/4 of a foot? So how could I put this into 4 groups? I've got 12, and I want to get 4 groups. What if I divided this into 4 parts? So here would be half. I'm going to use a different color. This would be half, and then I divided this in half, and I divided this in half. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So 1/4 would be equal to 3 out of 12, which is equal to 3 inches. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So now we're going to use the same strategy to try to solve the rest of these. So we may have to go back and look at our model. So this time we have 3/4 of a foot. So let's go back and look. So if I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 12 in 3/4. So this would be 9/12 is equal to 3/4, which is equal to 9 inches. All right, so now we're going to divide it into thirds. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to erase these lines. And this time I'm going to divide it into 3 parts. So if you remember, if you divide something into thirds, your thirds are about right here. So these have to be equal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each of these is equal to 1/3. So how many 12ths are in a third? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got 4/12 is equal to 1/3 is equal to 4 inches. And then for the last one, we have 2/3. So let's go back and look. So if this is 1/3 and this is 2/3, I've got 4 and 4, which is equal to 8. So that would be 8 out of 12 is equal to 8 inches. All right, so the last part here, we have 1 1/3 yard is equal to blank feet. So let's think for just a second about how we're going to solve this. Okay, we could draw a diagram, or we could try to decompose. So if I've got 1 1/3 yard, and I know that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, and I know that 1/3 of a yard is equal to 1 foot, together that would be equal to 4 feet. Okay, so if I've got 4 yards, and I know that there are 3 feet in a yard, this would be 12 feet. And if we remember that there is 1 foot and 1/3, then that means that there would be 2 feet and 2/3 of a yard. So this will be equal to 14 feet. All right, so now let's go from gallons to quarts. So remember there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So if I have 2 gallons, that would be equal to 8 quarts. And then 1/2 of a gallon would be equal to 2 quarts. So this will be equal to 10 quarts. All right, so let's try that same strategy. So there's 4 quarts in a gallon, so this would be 28 quarts. And then there's 1 quart and 1/4. So 3/4 would be equal to 3 quarts. So altogether that would be 31 quarts. All right, let's keep going. So if there are 12 inches in a foot, and then there would be 6 inches and a half of a foot, then that would be a total of 18 inches. All right, so we've got 3 left. So if I have 6 feet, that would be 6 times 12, which would be 72 inches. And then a half of a foot would still be 6 inches. So that would be 78 inches. For G, 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. And then a fourth of 12 would be 3 inches. So this would be 15 inches. Okay, last one. I bet you could do this one all by yourself. It's very similar to this one. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and try this one all by yourself. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and you came up with 12 times 6, which is 72. So this would be 72 inches. A fourth of a foot is 3 inches. So altogether, we have 75 inches. So there was a lot to consider in this problem set today. And if you had trouble just decomposing, you might want to think about going back and drawing that tape diagram or drawing that number line if just decomposing was a little bit confusing for you. Keep drawing that model until you can picture the model in your head and do it without the model.